Lana Kasian had been living the life she had always dreamed of. She was a Ukraine-born former attorney and someone who loved the big and robust nature of sunny Los Angeles. It seemed like all her dreams came true when she met an incredibly wealthy graphic novelist named Blake Leibel and started living with him in West Hollywood. His graphic novels, often very violent, proved he was capable of writing about dark themes. But little did anyone know that the horrific things he wrote about could one day be brought to life. Blake Leibel was born to Lorne and Eleanor on May 8, 1981 in Toronto, Canada. His father, Lorne, was a super prominent real estate agent and had followed in his father's footsteps, as he too was a wealthy real estate agent. So Blake and his older brother Cody had been born in the lap of wealth. With Ferraris at their disposal and trust funds, the Leibel brothers lived a lavish life from a very young age. Blake Leibel moved to Los Angeles with a dream and a lot of money. To many people, he was a goofy trust funder trying to make a career out of his father's money, while to others, he was a hard-working, aspiring writer. Whatever the case, Blake Leibel began his career by directing a low-budget film called Bald, which barely got any attention. He then worked on an animated series called Spaceballs, which stemmed from the Mel Brooks movie. But perhaps his most popular work was his gory graphic novel called Syndrome. The plot and illustrations of Syndrome were disturbing to say the least, with gory scenes, including the torture of a woman and terrible acts of violence. Syndrome was a representation of the extreme depths of darkness that Blake Leibel's mind could wander to. Blake Leibel's ambition, or perhaps more his money, drew women into his life. In 2006, he met Amanda Braun, a model who he married in 2011 and had a baby with. When all seemed perfect and Amanda was pregnant with their second child, Leibel left his wife abruptly in 2015. Before he left his wife, Blake Leibel had started acting strangely. He started to become obsessed with his dark, brutal violence and proposed ideas that would contain extremely disturbing themes. He also started heavily consuming narcotics and became distant from his family and ignored their calls. Several red flags were raised as the graphic novelist seemed to be spiraling into madness. At this point, Blake began to develop a fear. His brother, Cody Leibel, was an amateur gambler who played in a local high-stakes poker circuit depicted in the movie Molly's Game that would be visited by celebrities and shady rich men, including members of the Russian mafia. Blake was worried that his brother owed around $1 million in debt and that the members of the mafia would mortally threaten his family members if he couldn't repay it. He had an irrational fear revolving around money, and there was not a lot of evidence to support that his brother was even in debt. Soon after he left Amanda, he began dating a beautiful woman named Lana Kasian, a Ukrainian former attorney from Kyiv. Having lied to Iana about getting a divorce from his former wife, Iana soon became his girlfriend, and the two moved into a condo in Los Angeles. In just a few months, Iana became pregnant, and they had a baby girl named Diana. Iana had always dreamed of the Hollywood life that Blake had given her. While she was blinded by the glitz and the glamour of the West Hollywood life, Blake was spiraling deeper into the darkness. While a father would be delighted to have a new baby, Blake Leibel was jealous. Of what, you may ask? He was jealous of his own baby, who now seemed to get more attention from Iana. This jealousy was reflected in Blake's behavior. He would demand that Iana do things against her will and threaten to leave her if she didn't. And what's worse, Blake had another relationship Iana was unaware of. Constance Bukafuri, who had been living in another house that belonged to Blake not far from his condo. And while Blake seemed to have a happy relationship with Iana, he had been seeing Constance and was in the middle of a divorce from his former wife Amanda. Yes, Blake Leibel had 3 relationships at once. On May 20th, 2016, Blake Leibel was arrested for forceful conduct with Constance Bukafuri. He was arrested 15 hours later with a bail of $100,000 put up by Iana. But when she found out about the affair he had with Constance, that was the last straw. Iana left the condo and moved in with her mother, leaving Blake alone. 4 days later, Iana was shopping for a new stroller with her mother, Lana Kasian, when Blake constantly started texting her. Iana sensed something was wrong and went to Blake's condo on May 24th. She had spoken to her mother for over 7 minutes that day, but the next day, on May 25th, Iana would not pick up the phone when her mother called her. Sensing something was wrong, Olga went to the condo at around 1:44 p.m. to check up on Iana. Olga noticed her daughter's car parked outside and saw that the balcony door was open. She called Blake to open the door and let her in, but she got a chilling response in return. She saw Blake's shadow and his hand sliding the balcony door shut. Worried about her daughter's safety, Olga called 911 and the police reached the location. The door was unanswered, and both Blake and Iana would not answer the phone. After leaving several voicemails on Blake's phone and still not receiving an answer for over 2 hours, the police left as they needed a justifiable cause to break into the property. The next day, Olga called 911 again and feared for her daughter's life.
Help me, please.
At this point, the deputy obtained a key to the condo and broke in. The apartment was dark and there was no sign of anyone there. There was only one door left to check, which was blocked by a mattress on the other side. The police demanded the person behind the door to step out, and Blake's voice responded that he would not. After a while, Blake Leibel realized he had no choice and stepped out of the room. Upon entering the room, an officer screamed in terror. They had found Iana's lifeless body mutilated in the worst way imaginable. The blood from her body had been drained out, and it was later reported that she had been kept alive for 8 hours, while the brutal graphic novel writer did the most unimaginable things to her. Blake Leibel's face showed severe bruises that resulted from poor Iana fighting for her life. The LA coroner compared the injuries she had to wartime injuries, and the horrifying scene was eerily similar to a violent depiction from a page of Blake Leibel's own graphic novel, Syndrome. It seemed that Syndrome, one of the few highlights of Leibel's career, had been used as a blueprint for the torture of his own wife. Blake Leibel was arrested and charged with taking the life of Lana Kasian. Perhaps the most disturbing fact is that he ordered food using Postmates twice after he had taken her life, and had a stone-cold expression when the police interrogated him. On June 26, 2018, Blake Leibel was sentenced to life without parole due to the nature of his crimes. The jury took just 3 hours to deliver a guilty verdict, and Blake Leibel was ordered to pay $43 million to Iana's family. Iana had been living in the United States for a couple of years before this tragedy struck. She was a beautiful woman who was working to become a translator. Her mother spoke of how proud she was of her girl and how she loved the warm Hollywood life in contrast to the cold of Ukraine. It is truly devastating to hear when a life is taken at the hands of ego and greed for money. What are your thoughts on this disturbing case?